What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bluegrass State of Mind, the show where three college roommates talk life, sports, and all the ridiculous things that happen in an apartment we like to refer to as Room 302. We're bringing you stories, hot takes, and the kind of late-night debates that probably should have stayed in the group chat.
So grab your headphones, sit back, and get ready for a wild ride through our past college life, sports, and everything in between. Let's get into it. This is Bluegrass State of Mind.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. Woo, boys, we got a good one in store tonight. Want to go ahead and throw this out there. Stay tuned. We have a special guest hopping on here in a little bit. First, we're going to tackle some basketball news, and then for the remainder of the night, we are actually going to hit on football big time, and that's where we're going to live. Before we get into that, though, Colton, man, your hat and shirt, you got a new hat and shirt going on. Can you tell everybody, where did you get that hat and shirt at?
That's right. Shout out to our friends over at Bluegrass Elite, our new collaboration that we have going on with them. That is bluegrass-elite.com. Dylan can tell you a little bit more about it, but man, I hope it's looking good, man. It fits great. We're very excited for the stuff that they sent and excited for the partnership going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the first time ever, this episode is brought to you in part by Bluegrass Elite, a veteran-owned apparel company, Kentucky-owned. It's a sports. They're all about Kentucky stuff, all about the bluegrass lifestyle. I'm actually going to put the link in our bio, and if you hit on that link, it will take you directly to their website and apply 15% off. They've got hoodies, they've got hats, they got shirts, they got all the Kentucky stuff that you would want. Mason, we've not been able to get to him yet, but it's coming, and I will tell you, Colin, I know you've already said you love the shirt. I love my shirt. I didn't put it on tonight because I knew you was going to wear yours, but I will tell you, I am wearing the hat. I love my hat. Like, this is pretty much going to be my Alabama game apparel, probably. Like, I am definitely going to be repping the hat. I love the rope hats. Colton, I love the shirt you got on. I got the tan one, the outline of the UK. It's simple. So if you haven't already, go ahead and go in our bio, click that link. It will take you directly to their website, and you will immediately get 15% off. If you don't click on the link, then you can go to their website. That's bluegrass-elite.com and apply code BSM302. All right, fellas. So, so there's been a lot that's transpired in the past 2 days. Today is Wednesday, August the 19th. So between yesterday, Tuesday, and today, there's been a lot of noise. Okay. Jackson Collier is back in the mix. And let's just start there. So yesterday, as of August 18th, it was a big day for not only him, but other collegiate athletes. So kind of a backstory, California judge had granted the temporary restraining order, which is a TRO, involving roughly, I gathered, 73 athletes, which included Jackson Collier. And that order temporarily prevents the NCAA from enforcing certain eligibility restrictions, which will open the door for Collier to enter the transfer portal, which he has done to pursue that fifth college season. So the question is Collier eligible? And the answer is yes. As of today, he is currently eligible. And this isn't the NCAA changing, I guess it's rules. It's the court preventing it from the NCAA from enforcing that eligibility restriction against him while this case is moving forward. And keep in mind, we're still on wait with the whole Mark Mitchell case. Like, we still have not been cleared. We're supposed to hear answers this week. I'm assuming by Friday for sure. They said the end of the week. They had to return everything in by, I believe yesterday. That was Tuesday. Both the NCAA and Mark Mitchell's lawyers, they had to turn all their evidence, and they'll have a decision made by them. But, fellas, you know, I've said it. I made a video about it. I'm all in on Mark Mitchell. I still want Mark Mitchell. However, though, we heard a lot of noise about whenever we had that little segment about, is Mark Mitchell a risk? And believe it or not, it's kind of, this whole Jackson Collier thing has come back to play and been, it may be a risk because we still don't know. Are we going to take that chance? And to even go a little bit further, Colton, I want to hear your thoughts. Kentucky actually held a Zoom call with Jackson Collier today. It lasted for 2.5 hours, went very well. Kentucky, BYU, Louisville, and Kansas is still in the mix for him. So, Colton, Kentucky is in a very tough spot. What do you do? I mean, do you play the waiting game? If he from everything that I've read, like, he's ready to make a decision soon, right? So if he confirms it and says yes, and more, I mean, like, do we say, okay, yeah, that's our guy if he's wanting to come here? I mean, obviously there's a lot of different roads you could go down, but I mean, it's a risky move, right?
Yeah, I mean it's tough. Just because the more I'm looking, some of these schools are going ahead and getting commitments. And I know a lot of them are waiting on final decisions, but if it goes through like we think it's going to go through, some of these teams, I even saw where Oklahoma got more guys, right? I think Oklahoma, we talked about that. Like, I think they're going to be pretty tough already, and they went and got a couple guys to commit through the 5-5. And my thought is, if you wait, are you going to miss out on some of these guys that are already committing, waiting for someone that may or may not become eligible? So that's tough for me to say. I think, though, it is a risky move, but here's the thing. There are going to be, I think you have to base on how valuable you think Collar is. And what I mean by that is, can you, if you were to pass on him, and Mitchell does not become eligible or be allowed to play, do you think that you can find someone, because there's going to be several 5-for-5 guys eligible, right? There's becoming a ton of them available. Do you think that you could find someone to fit in that spot that could be maybe not quite as valuable, but almost as valuable as Collier is in that role, maybe just in a different way? And if you do, then I think you honestly pass and you try to get Mitchell. And if not, then you just get one of these guys that are going to become available, right? And try to fit them into the system. Because I think you were okay with your team before all this happened. So again, you're just looking for the right piece that can kind of put you over that edge that you're kind of looking for. And I think Mitchell is going to do that more than Collier. And if that's the case, I think you actually kind of hold out and see what you can do.
Well, and Mason, like that's the point I think that you really have to figure out, right? Like, I think that we all are in agreement that we want Mitchell more so than a Collier. But if you can't get Collier or Mitchell, we're okay with it. Like, I was thinking about this today. I think this team, at their best, has a chance of being really good. Like, I like this team with or without them, right? We established that. But we've also established that by adding a Collier or a Mitchell or a Keyshawn Hall, which we've not heard any noise, it really kind of elevates you into that next tier status. So does waiting for somebody else that's not the Keyshawn Hall, that's not the Jackson Collier, that's not the Mitchell, actually elevate you to that next tier status? You can probably go get somebody, like Colton's saying, but do they actually elevate you into that next tier, I guess, of top 10 status? Like that's where my mind says. But Mason, like, do you think it's a clear-cut decision that Mitchell is the easy choice here? Or do you just be like, hey, it's not that big of a difference. Let's go ahead and get the safe bet. We know he's going to make an impact, rather than, again, okay, what happens if we don't get him or Mitchell doesn't clear it and we have to go, like Colton said, there's going to be plenty of options to go get, which would be fine. But then it goes back to, okay, are we okay with being fine? Like, this is a crucial year for Mark Pope. Like, we probably need to go get somebody that is that bigger fish, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. I do think initially that Kentucky was probably more focused on Mark Mitchell, especially with him, kind of doing all this in the state of Kentucky and all this happening. But now with him with Collier moving so quickly, I don't know, because in my mind, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, I do think Mark Mitchell elevates us more than Collier does. But,
and we still want Mitchell. Like, I don't want anybody listening to this and be like, well, you was just saying last week, I still want him. Are we all on there?
I do too.
Yeah.
I still want Mitchell. I think he's my preferred option. because I think he elevates this team more than Collier does. But I also think Collier can elevate this team, and with where we're at in the landscape of everything that's going on right now, I think you just have to take the first available player that's going to be able to play at this point. Like if Collier comes out tomorrow and they're like, yes, he's approved, he's playing for sure, and he's like, I want to be at Kentucky. I think at this point you can't take that risk because yes, Mitchell may elevate us a little bit more, but I think Collier's going to elevate us more than those other pieces that are left out there. So I think at this point I'm kind of like, yes, I still want Mitchell, but I think with everything that's transpired and who knows what's going to happen, like if he calls Mark Pope at 11 o'clock tonight and he's like, hey coach, I want to come to the University of Kentucky. I just don't see how Mark Pope can turn that down. I really don't.
Yeah. I also think this is kind of like we've seen this story, and I think we kind of got lucky with it the first time around. And who is the big guy that we was wanting to commit? We passed on him. Y'all know who I'm referencing to, don't you? Like he
Johnny
was ready
Freeman?
to. It wasn't Freeman. It was the other guy.
Was getting hurt.
But it was before Donnie Freeman. We was like, okay, we don't want this guy. I cannot remember his name. But then we're like, we wanted Donnie Freeman, and Donnie Freeman ended up leaving us. It was the big white center guy. I don't know where he went to. I forgot. But however, though, it worked out because then Donnie Freeman got hurt. We didn't get him, and we got Milan, right? It worked out. But it's just a huge risk. So, again, I said it last episode too. I would not want to be Mark Pope right now. Like it's a very, very tough place because I like my team. I do. But again, at our best, can we be up there? Maybe. Yeah. But I would feel a lot more comfortable with a Collier or Mitchell.
What are y'all doing tonight? If you're Mark Pope and Collier calls you tonight at 11 a.m. says, I want to come to Kentucky, what are you saying? Are you taking him? Are you telling him you're waiting to see what happens with Mitchell?
Colton, what are you doing?
I mean, if that's the case, I mean, I think you got to take him. I'll just be honest with you. But, I mean, I guess that is the way, but I think you're also, if you think he's fully committed, I mean, assuming he's had all these same interviews, then that might buy some time, right? He said he's supposed to have some more. How does Louisville have more room for people? I'm so lost.
I think it's just one of those things. They're just in contact.
Like,
I really don't.
I keep seeing their name pop up, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, how do they have a 25-man roster? I mean,
$50 million.
To answer your question too, Mason, I'm like Colton. I want Mitchell, but it's such a risk. It truly is that you're like, okay, what happens if he doesn't get that eligibility? Like, and that's not even to say he does get his eligibility, but then it has to also pass that he can play in Kentucky. So it's almost like a two-step process, right? Like that, the way that I'm understanding is that's the way he has to then make sure he can actually play in Kentucky, not just get eligibility to play. So, I mean, yeah, I guess you kind of have to, because I think that there's such a gap between your Mitchells and Jackson Colliers too, what Colton's alluded to, that mid-major guy who would be a good pickup, somebody who averaged like 10, 12 points a game, but also played at the mid-major level. You're talking about a Jackson Collier who has a veteran. I forgot what was his averages. It was like maybe around 15 points maybe. Don't call me out on that for sure, because I would have to look at my stats. Mason, are you pulling it up?
Hold on, I think I have it typed in here somewhere.
You better get Craig to you.
What did he average?
I'm looking at 12.5 points, 8.9 rebounds, 50% for the field.
So, yes, he did average the 12 points, but I guess looking at the Big Ten, Michigan State, big-time games, right? So that is kind of where we are at in the landscape. While I'm about to text our special guest to come in here to start the football campaign with us, but by adding Jackson Collier, we've talked about what it does Mitchell-wise, because we didn't talk about Jackson Collier. Where does it position us at with him on this team?
I think we're definitely top 20 with him on our team. Probably maybe top 15. And I think with Mitchell, you're top 10 flirting with top 5. I think that's the difference in the two players. I think one flirts with top 15. I think one flirts with top 5. and that's kind of where I'm at on it.
Mason?
Yeah, no, I pretty much agree. I'd say with Collier, probably in my eyes, top 12 to 15, somewhere in that range. And then, like you said, with Mitchell, top 10, possibly top 5. I think Mitchell fixes. I think Collier's more like of a stretch, more of an offensive fit for Pope's system, but I think Mitchell fixes some of the things we've heard so far, right? Like defensively, so he can elevate us that much more.
I agree. I'm thinking more of the defensive end too. Well, let's kind of flip the script. And like I said, we're going to go to football. We're going to stay in football the rest of the night. You can see our guest was on last season, Mr. Billy Joe Murphy. Thank you for hopping on with us tonight. Talk a little bit UK football. You already introduced yourself last time, but go ahead and introduce yourself here and kind of do the background, because we don't just bring people on here to talk football or basketball. We bring people who know their stuff. So kind of give us a little background real quick, a little introduction, and then we'll hop right into this UK football stuff.
Yeah, Billy Joe Murphy, played at Monroe County High School class 2007, and then went on to play at UK for 5 years, redshirted 1 year, graduated from there in 12, and had a great experience with that, and try to stay close to the program as much as possible, get up there when I can. Obviously, everybody lives their own busy lives, so I'd love to get up there more, but 1 or 2 times a year, it's great to see a couple guys that are still around that I know, but try to stay close to the program, go to as many games as possible, but enjoy watching them now.
So also played at UK, but also coached high school football. How many years did you coach? I know you was at Barron County and Monroe County, but collectively all together.
I think it was eight total, 4 as a head coach. And yeah, I enjoyed that. I really did. It was a great experience and met a lot of great people, got to work with a lot of great people. It was a really good experience.
So we got a guy on here who does know football. So I want to kick things off with you, Billy Joe. Last year, when you hopped on here, you made it clear you was a Stoops troop. Like, I remember you talking about that. And we can see that script has flipped. But kind of not getting into too much because we got a lot to unpack here tonight. But like with Will Stein coming in here, obviously at the end of the day, it's about winning football games, right? The game has changed a lot, recruiting, how coaches go about things. But at the end of the day, it's about winning the game, right? But for you, what has been your immediate reaction to this new era of college football, specifically with your Will Stein era, with the J Bat coming in as the athletic director? You've kind of seen a little bit of a shift, whereas you with the Barnhart and Stoops, right? So what kind of, for spring, the summer, the recruiting, like what has been like your immediate reactions with Will Stein and what he's done with Kentucky football?
Well, I think when he got hired, it's obviously the unknown. I mean, he's never been a head coach before. He's younger, so he hasn't had a ton of experience as far as leading an offense or a defense. So it's really the unknown. But I will say to this point, I don't know that you could ask much more of him than what he's done so far. I mean, he's recruited well. He's got a lot of guys from the portal to come in. You look at their roster and their depth chart, which he doesn't want to put out, and I don't blame him. But you look at that, and there's a lot of juniors and seniors on there. So he's done a really good job of getting guys that have experience to give him an opportunity, because the reality is you just don't get a chance to build anything anymore. You either win now or you leave. And because of the NIL and the transfer portal, you don't get much time to build guys. And you see coaches around the country, in my opinion, that struggle with that philosophy and that mindset of just winning now and not really developing players. Whereas you take a lot of guys who take pride in developing players. They don't want to get away from that because that's what they know and what they're good at. But I think Stein has bought in, and I think so far he's done. You can't ask him to do anything else.
No, I agree 100%. All right, so before we get into the schedule, kind of wrote some stuff down too I wanted to throw over to each one of y'all to elaborate on. Obviously, a lot of change. Billy Joe said the unknown. I think that is a great word for this team, starting at the quarterback position, Mr. Kenny Mitchell, right? You're talking about the guy who's spent 3 seasons as a backup at Notre Dame. He's only appeared in 10 games. He completed 23 of 29 passes, 96 rushing yards for 2 rushing touchdowns. I mean, I don't know a ton about him other than highlights and what we've seen. Colton, what is like have you seen from Kenny Minchie? Like, is that worry you at all that he was a backup for 3 years coming into a Will Stein era who's produced? But it has to mean something. Like Will Stein, I mean, he produces not only great college quarterbacks but also NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah, so my biggest takeaway from that pickup with Kenny Minchie is how fast we got him with all the names in the portal. And so it told me that Will Stein liked him for a reason, right? I mean, there were some bigger names in the portal, and we immediately went and got this guy. And you're talking about a guy that had worked with, obviously Dante Moore, and was he there during Mariota's time or towards the end of Mariota, and right. Bo Nix and Justin Herbert, right? Some of these Oregon quarterbacks that he's been around. So if he's been around that type of talent, NFL talent, and immediately saw Kenny Minchie and was like, hey, like, we want you to come here. Like, this is a guy that I want over some of these guys that, like, I think Hoover was out there, ended up at Indiana, and Sam Levitt, who we talked about, ended up at LSU. So to me, while he is an unknown, you're talking about a very powerhouse, program in Notre Dame, and what Marcus Freeman's been able to do with that program in the last few years. I mean, they've really kind of got back to their older ways. You can argue scheduling stuff if you want to with Notre Dame not being in a conference, but overall, I mean, he's going to be an unknown. I don't know. Obviously, we're playing such a tough schedule. You're in the SEC. Who knows what you're going to get with him? But I have to believe that there was something he saw in him that reminded him of some of these other quarterbacks he got to coach that got him excited for that reason. So I look forward to seeing big things from him personally.
So Billy Joe, you and Mason both. I'm going to start with you, Billy Joe. Something that is everybody's talking about is the big blue wall. Big blue wall is back. You're talking about a left tackle in Lance Hurd, 6'6", 325, previous school, Tennessee, and then was at LSU before that, 35 career games, 24 starts. Left guard, Tegra, I'm not even going to try to say his last name, 6'6", 329, previous school, Ohio State, 43 career games, 29 starts. Colton Price, the center of it all, being the center, 6'3", 308, previous school Baylor, 32 career games, 30 starts. Olis Alan, 6'6", 329. Malachi Wood, 6'8", 320. Like, they're top 3, top 4 offensive line. But I want to get your take on this, Billy Joe. I've always found it very intriguing. Like, when in comparison to basketball, when thinking of the point guard, everything runs through the point guard, right? And then everybody, the most important position on the football field is the quarterback, right? But with you being an offensive lineman and coaching that, what's that dynamic like? Because, like, yes, it does run through the quarterback, but it's so different because before the quarterback can take even control of the game, you gotta block for him, right? It starts with that offensive line. And I love what Colton Price said on the interview. He said, 5 guys, 10 eyes, 1 lens. So for you, when you was playing and coaching, like, what's that dynamic like? What's that locker room environment like? How important is it for them to be aligned with not only the 5 guys there, but also the quarterback position?
It's going to sound so cliche, but it's really playing for each other. And you got to have a quarterback that's going to command the huddle and demand the respect from everybody around him, not just from the way he talks and conducts himself, but when he produces. If you don't have a quarterback that produces, they can't back up what they're saying when they try to lead other people because they're not leading by example. So first of all, you got to have a guy that's going to make plays and that's going to help you out when you screw up. I mean, you miss a block and he makes the guy miss and gains 5 yards. And you don't forget those things. And when you have a guy back there that's able to do those things and he commands that huddle, it's not that you're going to play harder for him, but your level of focus is going to be at its maximum with all of the guys around you to make sure that you take care of him because you want to take care of him. And it's not that you don't want to take care of other guys. It's just making sure that your focus is there to take care of each other, to play for that guy because that guy demands you to do what you're supposed to do. And speaking of the quarterback, and you got the line, but you've also got the skill guys. And so it's all, I mean, I just think football is the ultimate team game. You take the greatest player in history and he can't do anything without an offensive line. If it's Tom Brady or whomever you say, he can't throw it to himself. Unlike any other sport, there are so many variables that you have to be on the same page with to be successful, no matter what position you play in football.
Mason, I've always found it. I love that you see this from the quarterbacks, specifically in the NFL. How like at the end of the season, they'll go out and they'll buy their offensive lineman like a big gift or
Christmas
whatnot.
gifts, they'll buy, like I see the golf carts every year, trucks, or all this stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, like for you, Mason, like how important is that big blue wall going to be for this upcoming season? I mean that was what Will Stein's all of the quotes that he said. We're going to feed the studs. We're going to go get the best players. You cannot be the best if you don't go out and get the best. You can obviously. You can get them there, but you also it's good to have the best players, right? And that's what we've done in this offensive line.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it makes perfect sense what he was saying, right? It's kind of like a respect thing, right? Like if you're an offensive lineman and your quarterback behind you, like he's demanding this out of you, he's doing his job, right? Like he's holding you accountable. Like you kind of feel bad when you let him down, right? So like they're wanting to work harder for him, so that totally makes sense. But obviously, kind of like he said, without that big blue wall, you can't do anything. And going back to what you asked about Kenny Minchie, like Will Stein saw something in him, like Colton said. But if he can't do anything, right? Like if he's back there getting run around like we've seen the last couple of years, right? Like our offensive line hadn't been what it used to be, right? So, if he's back there running around, scrambling after every second, can't get a throw off, getting rushed all the time, not being able to process and make his reads, then obviously it's going to be really hard to see what Kenny Minchie is made of. So I'm just excited. Will Stein saw something in Kenny Minchie. We have offensive line that should be able to protect him. So I'm excited to see, how it kind of all works together.
All right, let's get into the UK football schedule prediction. So how we're going to do this, I don't think it would be smart for us to go through every single game and talk about the other team. You can elaborate on your decision making here, but for the sake of the time, and we'll break that down each episode the week before too as well. But starting off at Youngstown State, that is going to be the home opener at Kroger Field for Mr. Will Stein. That's September 5th. That is right around the corner. I'm assuming we're all going to say a win. Right? I mean, I would hope so.
Yeah.
Let's get into the nitty gritty.
Get a win.
Billy Joe, everybody's talking about it. Alabama, Roll Tide. Coming in to Lexington, week 2. Kalen DeBoer really hasn't proven himself to follow the great Nick Saban. Then he had that performance last year, goes on the road to lose to what everybody thought was a really good Florida State team, then realized, okay, it's really not a good team. What are your thoughts on this Alabama game?
Like I said, I just think it's the unknown. I can see you take all of these guys and Coach Stein being new, and you take his DC and OC and Bateman and Sloan. Those guys have experience, but it's all like an unknown thing. And what are they going to look like? How good are the players they have? And it all starts with the quarterback, like we've already talked about with Minchie and how well he plays. And he was almost, from what I knew last year, he was almost a starter at Notre Dame. So it's not like the guy was just sitting there riding and couldn't compete. Just got beat out one year by a better quarterback. So it is what it is. But he's got a great guy to learn under with Coach Stein, and I'm just super excited. I mean, Alabama's going to be good, and I'm not sitting here saying they're going to win. I just want to see them compete. And I think we said this 12 months ago when the first tough game of the year was Ole Miss. And I think that's correct. When the Ole Miss came to UK, maybe week 3, and I think I said the same thing. I just want to see them compete. And that's all. If you see that from Coach Stein early, you have to have confidence that he's going to build that recruiting part and get the guys in there. Not that he doesn't this year, but just really build on his recruiting, give him some more street cred, so to speak, and get some guys in there that can really compete at the highest level.
So is that a win or a loss? What are we going with?
I'm going loss. I'm going loss.
I'll go next then. I'll go with you on that one. I've contemplated and I want us to be competitive. I think we will be. But I just don't see us beating Alabama. I don't. Again, I think we can. But I'm going to say we will lose that game and move to 1-1. Mason, Colton, what are y'all's thoughts on that game?
Yep. I'm going loss as well. I'm kind of like you do. I'm like, as much as I want to say Yes, and it would be awesome to be there and see that. And
Yeah, we'll be there. I mean,
I think we can, like you said, but I think it's a loss.
Man, if I knew more about our defense, I would actually probably predict a win. I don't know about our defense as much this year because Alabama's, to my knowledge, still has not named a starter at quarterback, meaning that maybe they have two studs, grinding it out, but it also could mean that they're not real confident in either at the moment. And from what I know, they just lost their running back for at least a month, I think. So you're talking about an offense that could be a little unknown for them coming into their first hostile environment, which I assume Kroger will be rocking, as much as it's been for a long time at Kroger Field.
Oh, yeah.
So I do think it'll be a tough atmosphere for Alabama. I think this could be the game that you steal. I'm still going to go lost, though. I just do. I don't think we're going to be quite there yet, but I think it's momentum builder.
Yeah. And for those listening, it's not saying that we can't. It's
we hope we're wrong.
Well, yes. All right. Next game, College Station, first true road game, and I guess before we even keep going, let's keep in mind Kentucky faces 7 teams ranked in the preseason AP Top 25. That's tied for the most in the country. And the first 3 games are already set, but that Alabama game is prime time 3:30. But the Texas A&M is also in College Station, 12th man. It is going to be rocking. I'll just keep it sweet and simple. I think it's another loss. I think we move to 1-2. Again, I think we can be competitive, and I don't want to go reasons why because we'll unpack that, but we're just keeping this section of it short and sweet. Mason, Colton, what are y'all's thoughts real quick on that? And we'll move to Billy Joe and move on to the next game.
Yeah, it's a loss. Just going to be a tough environment. First true road game. We'll probably, there'll be some mistakes made. Be a lot on them, so some of the new guys, but yeah, I'm going to go loss.
Same for me. Tough environment. It's going to be loud. It's kind of same like the Alabama game. 2:30, 3:30 kickoff. Tough atmosphere. I do think we can be competitive, like Colt said, but it's a loss for me.
Last time we went to College Station, should have won with an inferior team. Got Jay Bateman, the DC at Texas A&M last year. I'm going with a win at College Station.
Okay. All right. Who's that quarterback?
Marcel Reed.
Marcel Reed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Next game is going to be at home, South Alabama. I'm going to go ahead and say everybody's going to say a W on that one. Then we go to what has turned out to be a little bit of a rival for us, the South Carolina Gamecocks. We will be playing them there. Billy Joe, what you got here?
Huge game. I mean, a monster game, especially if they don't pull it out at Texas A&M. Just kind of a statement maker for Stein that he can compete in the SEC. I'm going to go win. I know they're supposed to be a lot better. I'm not a believer in their quarterback and Sellers. I'm just not. I don't think he's that good, but I'm going to go win.
I'll go next. I'm actually I got us losing this one as well. I don't want to be the Debbie Downer. I think that we are going to be very competitive, and I don't want to give my reasons just yet of why, but I'm going because we'll be on here. But I love that Billy Joe's giving his reasons because he won't be probably on here for every game to unpack. But at that point, I got us losing. So then going into that or after that game, let's say we are 1, 2, we're 2-3. So Mason, what you got?
I got to win as well. Like you said, it's kind of turned into a rivalry. I do think it's going to be a big game, especially, let's just say we do lose to Alabama and A&M. It's going to kind of be a momentum setter game for the rest of the year. I think Stein's going to have them ready. I know it's kind of flipped in the last couple of years. But I feel like before we kind of had South Carolina's number there for a few years, and they've kind of taken it back. So it's time for Will Stein to take that back.
I'm going to go loss, and just because I think we'll actually be a better team than South Carolina, but it seems to me that every time we travel to South Carolina, I've watched too many games, I feel like, over the 20 years where it's like, hey, man, we come off a big win and we go into somewhere like South Carolina or Mississippi State or somewhere where you're probably the better team, but you go into that and you kind of lay somewhat of an egg.
South Carolina is the most underrated atmosphere in the SEC.
And I've heard that a lot, right? And so
Cowbells.
That's Mississippi State. But South Carolina, yes, I've heard. So I'm going to go loss here. I just think that it's just one of those tough places to play, man. I just do. I think it's just a tough one to do.
Things get interesting then. We host Mr. Lane Kiffin, the LSU Tigers. I think this is one of those games that, people are really looking at, especially if you watch any of the experts of college football. They're saying that Alabama, LSU, Florida, that's kind of one of those that Kentucky's going to get, they think. This is not the game that I think we get. That's going to come into a little bit of play later on. So at that point, for me, we move to 2-4. Billy Joe, LSU, Lane Kiffin, a new heir for the Tigers. What's going to happen at Kroger?
Too much talent. I think it's a loss.
Go ahead, Mason.
Colton? Mason, you keep it short and sweet. We're going to be on here at football for a while.
No, I agree. I don't know that I trust Sam Levitt completely, but I do think they beat us.
I'm going to go with a win because I was kind of close to picking us for Alabama. So I think if we don't get the Alabama one, we get the LSU one. I think Ole Miss had as much talent on offense last year as they're going to have. Now, I know they didn't have Chambliss come in until after their game, so I know that made a difference in the Ole Miss offense last year. But I feel like that Ole Miss offense was as talented as this LSU offense will be. And we played them tight there for majority of the game last year. I'm going to say we steal it from Kiffin.
All right. Then we go to Oklahoma. Billy Joe, I'm going to stay out of this one. I'm going to let you three go. Oklahoma.
I just think it's a loss. I just think it's a loss. I think Oklahoma's going to be pretty good. For some reason, I don't know. I took us a win against Texas A&M, probably one we shouldn't win. I'm going to go with the loss. And we beat South Carolina in my predictions, so I'm going to go with the loss.
Yeah, I got a loss on this one.
Yeah, I got a loss. I do think Oklahoma is going to be really good this year. I think they're one of the most underrated teams in the SEC. I think they got a lot coming back on defense. I think they're going to be really good.
All right, moving forward for October 24th, the Vanderbilt Commodores, Mr. Clark Lee changing that program. A lot of references to the Kirk Cignettis, the Clark Lees. Can Will Stein be that? Can he come in and transform a program and completely change that narrative? I think we get back, although I have had us, let's see here, at this point for me, we had lost 1, 2, 3 games in a row. I think we're competitive in those games. I just don't really see us winning those, but I do see us winning this one and winning big, actually. I got a win against Vanderbilt at home. Mason, what you got?
Got to win as well. I think the Pavia magic's gone. I do think he's a great coach. It's kind of changed the culture down there. I don't really know that they're going to have that kind of magic that they had out of Pavia last year. He did a lot for them. So I'm going to win.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I think it's a win. I agree. I think they lose. Pavia can play. It's a win.
All right. Let's move in then to a big rival game. Tennessee at Knoxville. Billy Joe, how was that atmosphere?
Oh, it's wild. It's just place is massive. It's huge, but it's so loud, and they play Rocky Top every time they get a first down, so that gets old a little bit. They play it so much, they wear it out, but it's a great atmosphere, great place.
Is that going to be a loss for you?
Yeah, I think it's a loss.
Yeah, same here.
Same.
All right, let's keep moving along. Florida. Now, I was talking to you in reference. Everybody's talking about the LSU, Bama, Florida. We're going to get one of those. I've got us a win at home, Florida. We've had their number. I think we're going to continue that. Whenever, what was it, Terry Wilson? That was whenever was he the quarterback when we beat them over there? That was
when we won at Florida for the first time.
Yeah, for the first time.
Daniels and
yeah, that was that. So I got us winning that one. Colton, Mason, what you got with Tennessee? Florida.
No, Florida. I'm going to go win. Although, just like Stein, Summerall, man, I think he's a good coach too. So he could bring a totally different than what we've seen Florida the last few years. But I am going to go win on this one.
Billy Joe, or
I'm
was who?
I'm going to win.
Yep.
I'm going to win. I don't think Summerall has had as much success in the portal in this short turnaround as Stein has. I just don't think the pieces are there to be the old Florida. I think Summerall's going to be good, but I think it's a win.
Before I jump over to Mason, though, you said, speaking of Summerall, what was your thoughts on that whole process? Was it one of those that between him and Stein, like, was you like fighting it like internally, like either one's great? Was you leveraging one of the other? What was your thought process on that whole situation?
No, not really. I mean, I know going into it, I just kind of wanted a guy that's going to put up some points. I just think you got to, in this day and age, be able to put up points. Not that Summerall can't. It didn't matter to me. I mean, I know I trusted them to make the best decision, and whoever gets there, you're going to root for them. So who it's going to be didn't really matter to me.
Mason, did you let's just jump to you. I know you didn't do it, but let's go straight to the next one. Let's go Missouri. At Missouri.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think one of these two is going to be a win. So I think I go with the win at home. Florida game, probably be a good atmosphere. And then, so I'm going to say loss for this one at Missouri. I think Missouri's ranked, top 20, I think, right?
I think.
Yeah, I was going to say 23rd or somewhere around
or
there.
20, something like that.
I'm going to go win. I think that we're going to get hot at the end, and I'll go ahead and knock off the next one, too, with Louisville, and I'll let Billy Joe say Missouri and Louisville. I think we get hot and win 3 in a row in Florida, Missouri, and Louisville.
I
Billy
think
Joe, what's your
Missouri's a
thoughts on
loss.
Missouri and
I think, I think our depth. I don't know how much depth we have, and at that point in the year, we get a little banged up, and I just think that that's going to be a rough time possibly. So I took the win against Florida. I'm going to take the loss against Missouri, and I don't care who's playing for Louisville. I'm not picking us to lose to Louisville. So
Hell's down.
Yeah,
I was about to say hell's down always.
Yeah.
So the most important question then, because we didn't keep tally of it, let's go around and then we'll move into the next phase of this football, all Kentucky stuff. Starting with you, Colton, what is your final record for Will Stein's first season at Kentucky?
So what was that? I had the 2 easy ones. I had us at LSU, Florida, and Vandy. I think, right?
And are you taking Louisville?
And Louisville. So 6-6.
6
Bowl eligible, baby.
That's what mine was, 6-6.
Mine was 6-6 as well. So Billy Joe, what was yours?
I think it was 6-6.
Yeah.
I was right there with you.
Hey, that's pretty accurate. I mean, I had it 6-6.
Yeah.
I think we all kind of had different games, but
Yeah. For as tough as our schedule is, though,
yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't think that's a bad season.
Would it surprise any of you all flip-flopping that? No, I know you not literally, figuratively 6-6, but flip-flopping, okay, we could rattle off an 8-4 or the opposite.
I'd be more surprised at 8-4 than I would be 2-10. I'll say that. With the schedule that we have, I would be more surprised at 8-4 than I would be 2-10.
I agree, but I just think it's the unknown. I mean, you got so many players and coaches that haven't been there and done that. I'm excited to watch them play. I really am. I just hope they do well, and I think they've got potential. Just the unknown, but that's the exciting part of it. New beginning, new chapter, tough schedule, but it's always tough. I mean, we say it's a tough schedule. It's a top 20 schedule every year. So maybe top 10, top 20. It's a tough schedule every year. Just got to sneak a game or two and take care of business when you're supposed to. And then, you're 8 or 9 wins.
So transitioning into players, like looking at who is still in the process of who we've lost, who we've got this week, who's come to start practicing with us. Going to throw it over to Mason. He's going to kind of lead us in this segment. This is all in this 5-5 drama that's going on with all collegiate sports right now. Mason, we got the Antonio Berry, who was ruled ineligible, but then we did get a win. Mr. Alex Afari Jr., huge pickup there, although it was a blow that we couldn't keep Antonio Berry, but kind of talk us through that, and let's get into that.
Yeah, so Antonio Berry, he was a transfer from the portal that Will Stein was able to land. He started D2, I believe, for 3 seasons and then spent his last 2 at Gardner-Webb. He had 52 tackles last season, 10.5 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, and 72 pressures. I was reading something earlier. Pro Football Focus gave him an 83.6 grade in 2025, which made him the second highest rated returning edge that was going to be coming back in the SEC behind a guy from Texas. So it was a pretty big hit to us. Obviously, he wasn't playing at an SEC level, but also obviously, he was a great player that we landed out of the portal, and I think we kind of had high hopes for, especially, not having a whole lot of, kind of returners and key pieces on our defense. But then, Dylan, you just mentioned, he is ruled ineligible now, so we lost him. They said, 3 seasons in D2 and then his 2 seasons in Gardner Webb. That was his 5 seasons. So he is done. But obviously we heard news that Alex Safari has been practicing with the team. Key returner, last 2 seasons, he's had 123 total tackles, 18 tackles for loss and 4 sacks. I did see where Will Stein said, that he's practicing right now, but obviously until everything's kind of cleared up and things become official, he won't play in a game or anything like that. So I think it's a key piece to get back. Obviously on the defense, he's been there for 2 seasons, could be a leader for some of those other guys. And obviously he's had some good numbers here over the last 2 seasons. So, kind of giveth and take away, but we got back. So kind of just replace, not having O'Berry, but Alex Safari able to step in there on defense for us.
Billy Joe, in your experience, take in the Antonio Berry, talking about coming from a Gardner Webb, right? Coming into SEC football. I mean, SEC, it just means more. It's different, right? Even though Big Ten has kind of, I don't want to go there, but what's that transition like? Is this a major blow? I mean, I don't want to take away from the capabilities, that the NFL, whatever that was stat that they rated him at 83.5, but coming into the SEC is a little bit different, right? So do you see that if we would have got to keep him, would have that translated into SEC? Would it took a little while? What's been your take on that, seeing guys, because I'm sure you've seen that in and out. It just maybe looked a little different.
Yeah, we didn't actually have a lot of obviously nowhere near as many transfers back then. So I can't, from a firsthand experience, tell you about that. But in the position that he's playing, I think that's the least amount of experience on the defenses up front. And I think that I'm not going to call it a question mark, because I think everybody's a question mark, because you don't really have a lot of people that are returning in the same positions. So everything's unknown. But I think the least amount of experience on the defense is up front. And, you don't have a whole lot of returning tackles up front either. So I think that's where it hurts. It always is a concern, I would say, that you're jumping an entire division of football. There's no question about that. But I would, at this point, I trust Coach Stein and his recruiting ability so far that, hey, he sees it. He thinks he can do it. So sounds good.
Colton, how important is it for Alex Safari to be back with us?
Yeah, for a lot of question marks on the defense, he can kind of take away one of those question marks, for a little bit, and just add a veteran presence, someone that's the fans can rally around, that can be a leader in the room, can, kind of represent the Kentucky brand from a lot of guys that's going to be there that hadn't got the chance yet. And so I think it's huge on Alex Safari being back, if he gets to. Obviously, we're speaking hypothetically, as we're still waiting for that to be. We hope that that's going to be the case. We don't know that for sure. So if he does, I think it'll be a big impact. And the other O'Berry was such a question mark. But I will say, even though he was coming from Gardner Webb, I think of guys like Josh Allen, right, who came in as 2 stars and no one knew, just no offers. Right now, turned out to be the guy he was and the guy he is in the NFL. So I'm not going to take it away from anyone that's coming like that, because I think at that point they've probably saw enough based on a body and athleticism and things like that should be able to translate. Look, you're 242 or you're 240, 6'3", all muscle. It's going to translate a lot of places.
And I think it translates better in certain positions than others.
Absolutely.
You take a quarterback. How hard would that be, to that adjustment from speed and not necessarily scheme, but the adjustment of speed, and not just in your position or the guy coming after you, but everybody on the whole entire field. That to me would be more difficult.
Yeah. And I think another, I guess just challenge in itself, when speaking in terms of Will Stein, is this whole process of O'Berry and Alex Safari. You can't tell me he did not think the whole time that he was going to get both, if not one of the other, right? So, like, having to kind of balance that, okay, here's my defense, what they're looking like in spring, back pocket, I'm waiting, should have another guy, big-time piece in Alex Affarty, veteran, who's proven himself, I think will end up being the most starts in Kentucky college football. Like, so I think that's also been a challenge in itself for not just Will Stein, everybody, it seems like. But let's get into BSM from the stands. And this is actually coming, skipped over something. Next one. What's considered a successful season? I'm going to challenge you three and myself here. Obviously, the answer I'm expecting to hear, and probably fans are going to expect to hear, is, I consider a successful season with Will Stein is just being competitive. Right? Like that's probably, if you didn't write that down, it's probably what the initial thought was. But I want to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to challenge us here. Like, what truly will be a successful season for Will Stein? All right. Let's start out with Colton, and then we'll go to Billy Joe.
So I believe it was the first season Mark Stoops took over. We went 2-10, I believe. But what you saw wasn't just competitive. You saw toughness. You saw an identity being formed. And we held that identity for multiple years under the Stoops era, right? He kind of built that identity up that we were going to be tough. We were going to start developing players. And as we faltered off, that type of play kind of shifted. The game was shifting a little bit, and we needed to move on from that. So to me, a successful season is laying that foundation that we create a new identity. Is it that we're a high-scoring offense? Is it that we're a team that doesn't get penalized multiple times? That we're a very low penalized team because we're very disciplined on both sides of the ball. And that's what I want to see, is that we have a new identity being formed now with this era, because it's, we know what the schedule is. No one's expecting us to go to the college football playoff. No one's expecting these big wins, but you don't want to see like chaos out there. Like, we don't know what we're doing. You want to see things going in the right direction that recruits can see, that think, hey, next year I'm coming, right? Like, I want to go play for that man because this is what they're doing and this is what they're building towards.
Great answer, Colton. I am impressed. Man, that was a really good answer. Billy Joe,
yeah, can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Yeah, okay.
We see you.
I had a phone call, and it just shows a letter in front of me. I can't see.
Yeah, we're good. We got you. You're still on.
Yeah,
so, competitive season.
Yeah,
I mean, not competitive season. What's considered a successful season, other than being competitive?
I mean, I think bowl eligible would be a great goal. I mean, if you can get bowl eligible in a year that you're not only trying to put together a team, but you're putting together depth, and that's brutally hard when you start where Coach Stein did. I mean, they didn't have the depth last year to really get them where they needed to be. That was part of the problem. And then having to start where he started from and build what he's built so far, having to build that depth is going to take time. And it's going to take time from when he got the job. It was a very short amount of time. So I just think bowl eligible is a great goal, but I wouldn't say that if they went 5-7, it would be a failure either. I don't think that's a failure of a season. I think literally being competitive. And I know Coach Stein's an offensive guy. How is their defense going to be? Just all that unknown. But I hate to say that, but I do think just being competitive in every single game would be a landmark of an accomplishment.
I'll go ahead and go. Mason, I'll let you close us out on this part. I think for me, it kind of translates back into the identity piece, like Colton mentioned, but I'm going to kind of attack it from a different perspective, in the sense of not only the identity of this team on the field, but also the who is coming in. Like, I think of immediately, I was sitting here thinking about this today, like, we lose Pat Biondo, our GM, who done so much, and Will Stein was just singing his praises. And then you have this Pete Nocta, who was at Louisville, who is now leading that part. So, like, can we have another successful, not only this year's season on the field, but also in recruiting? Like, can we keep and sustain that success? To me, like, that's the future. You've got to always, especially in this era, be looking at the future. So I'm also looking in that sense of direction of the identity. Like, okay, players, high school recruits, and I know we've already done that for next year's class, but can we keep that up as well? I think that that's a huge role, maybe a little bit of a different type of answer, but I think it's crucial to always be looking at the future ahead of the game. Because I feel like, in the Stoops era, we got to a point where I felt like we was always 2 steps behind rather than being 2 steps ahead of everybody. Mason, what's one for you?
Yeah, so just kind of tying in a little bit to both of y'all's, like with the identity thing. I think so much over the last few years of the Stoops era, right? Like you would go in week after week and not necessarily know if you were going to get the team's best effort, right? Like I understand sometimes it's like you're going to lay an egg or you're going to run into a buzzsaw, right? But I just feel like there would be weeks like where we look like a completely different team and then we come out the next week, like Coach said, you'd have these dumb penalties.
That's
or,
a good point.
Yes,
it's like, what team is this?
Yeah, you come out and, there's a false start, holding. It just looked like they weren't disciplined. They didn't want to be there, right? So I think a successful season for me is sitting here, and I think we all kind of sit here and realize that, like, Will Stein and his offensive brilliance, right? Like what he's done on the offensive side with quarterbacks and things. So I think that's exciting too, right? Like, okay, maybe this is our new identity. Like we know we're going to come out, we're going to put up some points, we're going to be able to compete. But I think that's just the biggest thing for me is seeing that consistency from week to week to week and not having those, those drop-offs that we would see in the last few years of the Stoops era.
All right. Let's get into BSM from the stands. And this is actually, because we've not talked about football, this is going to be from me directly. My question for you all is going to be, how much grace does Will Stein get this year moving into next year?
Oh, I mean, who you want to, who's going?
Who's going? Mason, go.
I think he gets all the grace in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, Billy Joe talks about it earlier. Like, since he's taken the job, I don't think you could have asked for a better, like, start to what he's done here, right? I mean, you look at some of the guys he's got, some of these recruits, he's already went out there and landed. Like, he had, top 10 transfer portal, ranking class. He's kind of up there near top 10 recruiting class for next year. Like he started to get the ball rolling here at Kentucky and for Kentucky football. So I think you got to give him grace. We talked about it, like Billy Joe said it a couple times, depth. Who knows what we really have depth-wise. It was kind of, he kind of came in, had to fill a roster really quick, kind of like Mark Pope's first season, right? So I think you got to give him all the grace. We got a tough schedule. I just think right now, as long as he's showing, kind of things we just talked about, right, about a successful season, if we're seeing those things, and yes, you're worried about the wins and losses, but I don't think you can read into it a whole lot this year.
All right, Colton, I want you to go, and then I got another different BSM from the stands question for Billy Joe.
He gets a ton of grace. I mean, this isn't a Kalen DeBoer taking over for Nick Saban situation, right? This is not the last few years. I love Stoops. I'm very happy with what Stoops done with the program. I'm very thankful for Stoops and how he brought Kentucky to where he did in those years. But the last few years, we hit a ceiling there and we come back down. And we're kind of down here on the floor, so the ceiling's not very high. So you have a lot of room to go. That wasn't the same situation with DeBoer at Alabama, following someone like that, Nick Saban. So I think he gets all the grace in the world. What do we go last year? What did we finish? 2-10 last year, 3-10 or something like that. 3-9. Look, even if we just do that, but we lose more games where we score 35 points, but we might get beat 52-35. Those games are going to look a lot better than those games where we scored 6 points and get beat 28-6 or 32-6. He gets a lot of grace. I don't think he has to worry about that for a few years.
What were we last year?
I think we won 5 games, didn't we?
It's 5. We were 5-7.
We won 5 games last year.
I thought it was 4.
But that goes to the point that you're talking about earlier. Like, it's about what you see in the product. It's sometimes, it's not. If we won 4 or 5 games, that's 2 or 3 more than, like, in your mind.
Yeah,
we were not very good.
Right.
And we had games where we were very, very bad. But we still won 4 or 5. So it's all about the product that you put on the field and the identity, like you are talking about. In the Stoops years, the real Stoops years, you knew what the identity was. We're going to pound the ball down your throat, and then we're going to stop you on defense. And, the last few years, it wasn't like that. But the point, like you were talking about earlier, that's a good point. And you proved your point. Like, it's not always about the number in the W column when you think about how successful the season was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we were 2-6 in conference, 5-7 overall.
Finished bad.
Who was their second win in conference besides Ole
We
Miss?
beat
Or not?
Florida. Florida and Auburn.
Yeah,
Auburn. We beat
won at
Auburn.
Florida and Auburn.
because
We
got
beat
their
Florida
coach
last
fired.
year?
38-7. I'm looking at this.
Yeah,
Beat the brakes.
right.
It ended so bad. Like we got beat 45-17 to Manny and then 41-0 to Louisville. You know, like everybody kind of forgets we had a couple wins in there.
I did not remember the Florida one at all. I remember the Auburn one because it was just a straight defensive battle.
We also took Texas to overtime last year.
Yeah, we did. All right, Billy Joe, here is your question. You've heard it. Everybody has alluded to it, but I mean, I want your true opinion. Can the University of Kentucky football program be the next Indiana in football? And maybe not winning a championship, but at least getting to that playoff, especially when they expand, right? Because it's going to happen. But can we get there? And
Yes.
maybe time frame.
Yes. I mean, you take the last 10 years, Kentucky probably makes it one year. They probably make it in 18. I mean, went 9-3 in the regular season, won the bowl game. I mean, they probably make it that year. So yes, I think they can, and especially in the NIL world. I mean, if you take a basketball school like Indiana and they make it, why can't Kentucky? The only reason that Kentucky wouldn't be able to, in my opinion, is if the NIL world wasn't there and they weren't able to match what other schools are doing. But it is harder for Kentucky than Indiana. Let's just be real. And as far as the conference, I mean, there's no question it's harder for Kentucky to get there than Indiana. But yeah, I think they can. Absolutely. And with a 12-team playoff, especially if they expand it to 16 or 24, whatever they keep talking about, it makes it even more obtainable. But absolutely.
All right. Well, we got one final thing for tonight's episode. We're going to shift gears. We're going to do a little blind ranking game. This is for you three collectively going to work together. So, Billy Joe, if you have not seen this before or watched any of our episodes, what's going to happen is I'm going to give you, in this case, this title is going to be Biggest Impact in College Football. Take it as you want. Biggest impact in college football. I'm going to give you 5 names, one at a time, blindly not knowing what's coming next. You got to blind rank them, 5 being the worst, 1 being the best. All right. So y'all collectively are going to work together on this one. So biggest impact in college football. Your first name is going to be Mr. Money Manziel, Johnny Manziel.
I mean,
Like the impact they had on college football. Correct?
Take it as you want. I'm just saying biggest
say we go
impact
that
on college
route.
football.
I was gonna say I don't want to put him that high because I mean he was fun to watch and like he was popular, but I don't think he had a big impact on the game of college. Like, yeah, I agree.
I'm a 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I got Johnny Manziel at 4. Your next name, Mr. Lee Corso.
I mean, college game day is a staple.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know
you knew college football was back.
You want to put him one above Manziel?
Yeah, I agree. You got to go above Manziel for sure. Yeah, well, I like 3.
Okay. Your next one, Mr. Bear Bryant.
I mean,
Did he change the game?
I was like,
But
before
he
my
had more
time.
success.
who's a few that we think that he may say that we would be like, man, that's like
Nick
that was a
Saban?
big
You think Nick
impact.
Saban's coming?
Well, I don't know.
Oh,
I'm trying to think of some like a Tim Tebow.
Well,
or,
I've already thought about Tim Tebow.
Or
Noah Dillon, he's probably gonna throw Tim Tebow.
You'll put Bear Bryant too. You don't say that. You don't say the top.
we'll
spot?
save
I don't
we'll
think
save-
you could put him below Johnny Manziel.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, 2.
That was either 1 or 2 for sure.
yeah,
Let's go
I don't
2.
yeah, we'll go 2. We'll leave the one
Okay,
open.
so you got Bear Bryant at 2, Lee Corso at 3, and that's
Oh,
Here we go.
and Mr. Johnny Manziel at 4. All right, your next one is going to be. Come on, Dylan, you got to be better than that. I was looking at my notes. Your next one is Mr. Tim Tebow.
Hook, line, and sinker. We got him.
Man.
Man, I mean, a
So you
two-time
have
national,
spot
two-time
1
national
and
champion.
5 open.
Man, he played on the most corrupt team and almost one of the most corrupt teams in history.
They're all ended
and he
up
was
in
such
prison.
and he was such a good guy.
Yes.
But I mean, he's talked about as one of the best players ever. So I mean,
Yeah.
lefty quarterback who could run the ball. I mean,
2-time national champion, Heisman. I mean,
just the videos you see it like the leader he was and the person
Willie Joe,
he
you
was.
played against him. Was you there during that? I think you wasn't you?
yeah, we knocked him out.
I was there.
Yeah, my man.
I was there. I left a little early because we were down a lot, but I saw him leaving the ambulance.
they won the battle
afterwards.
They won the battle.
And he's now now he's on SEC Network. Like he's still giving back to the game. So I think we've got to. I think he's got to be one.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So you have 1 Tim Tebow, 2 Bear Bryant, 3 Lee Corso, 4 Johnny Manziel. Your 5th and final name going at the 5 spot is Mr. Nick Saban.
Get out of here.
He was coming.
I knew it. I mean, he would have. Yeah. I mean, obviously he's fine, but whatever. I mean,
yeah.
Well, that was a little off, fellas.
Yeah. I mean, I
caught it both.
Yeah, you did. You did say both. I was like, okay. But hey, it is what it is. But hey, Billy Joe, we appreciate you coming on here and giving a little insight, perspective, different perspective for sure. But thanks for tuning in and thanks for hopping on here. Thank you all. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, go ahead and do that. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and we're also on the Spotify and Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. This has been another episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. And also make sure that you go check out Bluegrass Elite. The link will be at the bottom. Go ahead and get your gear, the hats, the hoodies, the shirts. Get all your Kentucky stuff because Kentucky sports is here. And as always, go Cats.
Go Cats. That's a wrap for this episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Also, be on the lookout for our social media pages and be sure to follow them. We've got plenty more stories, insights, and conversations coming your way. And if you really loved it, make sure to share it with a friend. From the hills to the hollers, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep that Kentucky spirit strong.